Hi everybody, I hope that you can see me okay. I'm having to do this on my laptop, so I'm just going to try it. I know that this doesn't look very good, so let's just move this round slightly. Ooh, that's better. Excuse me for that. I thought that you might get a bit of the background of some of my records, but hey ho, we live and learn, don't we, folks? Right, today, I haven't really got anything brand new to show you that's come in the post or anything like that, but I've been going through a box of Beatles and mixed singles that usually live up there. All right, this is a box. It's a great big thing like that. So the majority of the things in there are usually Beatles and solo, although there's a little bit of other stuff in which might be of interest to some people later. Bear with 1 sec. Now you can hear me okay, folks. I do hope that you can hear me. So I just thought I'd pick a few things out just to show the sort of different things I've got. Some of the things in here are like stuff like this, so nothing really spectacular. Nothing really spectacular in that box, but what I've actually took out are quite good. So that on there like that. So if you're sitting comfortably, folks, this looks a little bit bitty, but hopefully you can hear me okay. So the first one is a copy of A Hard Day's Night. Take it out of its little sleeve. It is an original, but it's got a UK factory sample not for sale sticker on it. Now, whether this is a proper, original one or somebody stuck that on, I don't know. But it does look pretty convincing, to be honest. So I'd say there's a good chance that it is an original factory sample. But what do you think, folks? Do you think that is real or not? I'll leave it there so you can see. It has got a KT tax code on the back of it, just there. And this is in a reproduction sleeve. It was just in a grotty old paper sleeve. This is the same as the ones that we looked at yesterday, but it isn't one of those, if that makes sense. So that's the first one. Don't know how much it's worth. I should imagine if it is real, it is probably worth quite a bit, isn't it? Hope you can see them okay. Just going to go and switch my light on. Just bear with one. That's a bit better, isn't it? That's a little bit better. Right, shall we try again? Okay, so you've got the gist of it. So that is what that looks like, yeah? Hard Day's Night and things we said today on the B-side. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Beatles fanatics, record collectors, members of the VC, and people of the YouTube and the internet. This is Beatle Dave calling to you from the UK, Derbyshire in the UK. Right. Somebody's put my husband and I enjoy your videos. Are any 80s replicas worth anything from America? I doubt it. Do you mean like replicas of Beatles things? Some are, or the issues, if that's what you mean. Beatle bad. Replicas of some vinyls, especially some Beatles vinyls, can be worth something in the UK. American ones, I suppose it's like vice versa, like the reissues from the 80s from the UK, probably worth a lot in America. What's Beatle bad put? Mate, I did look for the repo ones for the 45. So far, I can't find them. Beatle bad, just keep looking, you can get them. These are what I got yesterday. Okay, they were from the UK. But if you want the like the site, it is Sleeve It Out UK at live.co.uk, which is on there, mate. Just there. So it's all like small. It's all in small letters. So it's Sleeve It Out UK at live.co.uk, and it's all one word. And I'm glad you like my videos. Right, the next one I'm going to look at is Hello Goodbye. Again, not particularly rare, is it? Hello Goodbye. This is an original sleeve, by the way. But the interesting thing about this one is, although it says sold in the UK subject to price conditions, see price list, it's actually made in France, although it's got UK catalogue number. Look, you can see that okay. And on the B side is a classic I Am the Walrus, solid centre. A lot of the issues can be worth something, some issues aren't worth anything. What's that? Manny voices, Beatle Dave and Beatle Brad, how Beatle are Beatle, you Beatle boys, Beatles. Don't understand that, but you've made me laugh. This is the thing, we're doing a live stream, isn't it? Next one is a copy of, this is actually one of the hardest UK Beatles singles to get in the UK, believe it or not, The Ballad of John and Yoko. I'm sorry, because I don't think you're going to be able to see these, but just that good, to be honest. But at least you can see them, I suppose. The B side is Old Brown Shoe. Not particularly rare, just a bit hard to get. Sometimes on eBay, these go for like 50 or 60 quid. I wouldn't pay that for one, though. It's okay to have a bit of fun, mate. If you want a bit of fun, that's okay. You know, that's what we're here for, is a bit of entertainment, isn't it? I think I might bring this light a little bit closer. Just bear with 1 second. Sorry if you've just seen my great big fat tummy. I'm just trying to do it so you can see these a little bit better. Is that any better? I think that is slightly better, isn't it? That is what we call a solid centre in the UK. Beatle Brad, I know you enjoyed the video on my 45s, but these aren't, none of these have ever been seen on any videos I've done. These usually live up there with CDs in that little corner. And I've just been going through them, and I've just thought, let's have a look at some of them that are a little bit strange. This is an original Apple cover or sleeve from the 1960s and 1970s. And again, the Ballad of John and Yoko. This is a push-out centre, so you can push it out. Nice Apple label. And you can see these okay. Bit pointless me doing it if you can't see them, isn't it? I could always sing you what they sound like. Christ, you know it ain't easy. You know how hard it can be. The way things are going, you're gonna crucify me. That was actually the last Beatles UK number one. Then we've got Billy Preston, or Billy Preston, as George used to call him, didn't he? Again, this was on Apple, Apple 12, and this is That's the Way God Planned It. That's the way God planned it. That's the way He wants it to be. Yes, they do look like US versions, don't they? Because I think you didn't get solid centres, did you? I think it was so that you could put them into jukeboxes and things like that. I think that's why it was made like this. But they would have originally had a centre. I can't find one now, can I? It's a bit like that. It's like This one, if you wanted to, although why you'd want to do it, I don't know, you could actually push it out. That there was made to be pushed out, not solid, if you wanted to push it out. I think it's people who had jukeboxes and things like that, wasn't it? So I hope you understand that. Yeah. Was Billy Preston the fifth Beatle? I think that could actually be quite an interesting video, couldn't it? Who was the fifth Beatle? Was it Billy Preston? Was it Pete Best? Was it George Martin? Was it Brian Epstein? Was it Stuart Sutcliffe? Was it Mal Evans? Was it Clive Sporman? There's a lot of people whose names could be in there, isn't it? Dave, you need to go shopping for... What's this? Beatle Bad. Dave, you need to go shopping for Beatles here. And I do need to get more at the good old UK one. Hey, Beatle Bad, if you want any of these singles, I can sell them. I can sell you a few, you know. If you want, these are all like multiple copies. I've got, I don't know if you see them, there's like, you can see them. I've got 2 crates there. 2 crates there. That's 2 crates full of Beatles stuff there. Beatles singles and solo singles. I've got that box there. And then, bear with me. This box here is what I usually put my laptop or my phone on when I'm doing phones. And that is full of, that is my pride and joy collection there, sort of thing. There's stuff I'm just going through, and then these are like duplicates and things like that. Not to please, in fact, yeah, but then it might be a bit dark. That's the only thing I'm thinking of. See, it looks like night time now. I presume you did mean curtains when you said drapes. That's okay, Beetle Brad. It's gone a bit dark now, but I take it you're not. Oh, you're still getting some glare. I think you're still getting some glare. Like that. That might be better. This is Joe Brown. We talked about Joe Brown yesterday. I needed a version of A Little Help from My Friends. And on the B side was Show Me Around. Little help from my friends. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. My dog Bailey's okay as well, Bad. Better. Is that better? Or worse? Probably worse. This is John Lennon, Power to the People. This is quite a rare UK version because it's got the full apple on both sides. Again, probably not worth a hell of a lot of money, to be honest. I'm just going to try something, folks. So just bear with us for 1 sec. Just bear with us for 1 sec. Talk amongst yourselves a minute. I'm just going to see if I can sort this lighting out. I think that's a bit better, isn't it? I think that's a bit better. Yeah, so that is the rare UK version with the full apple on both sides. I say rare, it's not that rare. It's not impossible to get, folks. Next up, we've got, this is always seems a little bit of an oddity to me. John Lennon and Elton John. It's like a mini EP. And you get, I saw her standing there. Whatever gets through the night and Loose in the Sky Diamonds. And this was Thanksgiving in 1974, wasn't it? And it was the last live appearance John ever did, apparently. Although I think he did something for Lou Grade, didn't he, in 1975? So I think like the last concert sort of thing. Very, very nice sounding record as well. You know, that is something that you can listen to. What we've got on here then? So, Beetle Bad, is your dog called Buddy? Is that after Buddy Holly? Then we've got one of the greatest songs recorded that was written by an Apple artist, but the recording that this isn't by an Apple artist, this is by Nielsen. And it is Without You. Well, I can't forget this evening when my life was Harry Nilsson, the fifth Beatle. He was on 3 of the 4 ex-Beatles albums, wasn't he? And he was very friendly with 3 of the 4 ex-Beatles. Not so friendly with George, but, you know, I think they did sort of like work together at some point. We're all having fun. Even though this lighting is absolutely crap today, I will actually apologise now. This is Paul McCartney and Wings, Jet. Ooh, ooh. This is a French pressing. French pressing for the UK market. Again, not impossible to get, but it is quite rare. Hey, Beatle Brad, I wish I was. Beatles Brad, Beatle Brad's just put, no, Dave, you're the 5th Beatle. I wish I was, mate. I'm just a Beatles fanatic like you. You know, I love everything the Beatles ever did, everything they've ever done solo. Yes, some I like better than others, don't get me wrong, but I don't think as a unit the Beatles ever recorded anything which we would describe as rubbish. I might say some aren't that good, but I don't think, you know, anything they put out commercially would class as rubbish. Maybe Revolution 9, but some people like that. Maybe what You Know My Name, Look Up the Number, but hey ho. You know something, I'd actually go with that. You've put Beatle Dave is the 27th Beatle and Beatle Brad is just ahead of him at number 26. Yeah, I don't mind that. It's all just a bit of fun into folks. Then we've got one off, probably one of the least favourite Wings albums, although I've always loved it, which was called London Town. And there's this song called With a Little Luck. With a little luck. Do, 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 do. Trying to work out. Backwards Traveller Wolflink. I'll just a shout out to somebody. I think his name is Andrew B. I think it's Andrew B. Beatles fan, Beatles fanatic, based in the UK. Yesterday, I don't know when he did it, but I actually saw a video that he made yesterday of the London Town album. And if you haven't actually watched that one, check it out, because it was very, very, very interesting. Even I learned a few things on that one. I'm glad you love my videos. Feel it. This next one is still classed as the best-selling non-charitable UK single in the UK, obviously. Mull of Kintyre. Again, a lot of people don't like it. I don't mind it, to be honest. It's what it is. And in America, this was released as a double A side in the UK, but I think in America, didn't you have Girls' School as the lead single of this, or lead track, which was actually the more rockier, wasn't it, of the two tracks, and probably the most sort of like commercial out of the two tracks. But like I say, it is what it is. Mull of Kintyre by Wings with Girls' School, double A side, and it is actually quite hard to get this in the picture sleeve. Not impossible, it's quite hard. Beatle, Dave, I do have a very rare one. I do have the whole thing of Circle of Light. Wow. Is that rubbish then? Is that rubbish, Brad? Because I don't know. I always thought that was sort of like a mythical thing that was only sort of like, wasn't officially released, was it? Such. Oh, no. We're not going to get into things about Yoko. I loved her. So, yeah, most of the stuff she did do, we probably don't like as fans, do we? But then again, we're not on about her, we're on about the Beatles, aren't we? In the solo Beatles. So, but everybody's got their own opinion, haven't they? You know, if you don't like her, you don't like her. If you like her, you like her. It's simple as that. Old Siamsa, UK pressing on the MPL label, and Spin It On was the B-side. And the sleeve to this is probably worth more than what the record is. It is quite a nice record, though, to be honest, that one. Just trash. I don't think you would like it at all. What, Circle of Light, Brad? I don't know. I've only barely ever heard snippets of it, to be honest. What's the other one? Is it Watching Rainbows or something like that? But that sort of like did get didn't George remake it or something years later. Yes, I'd agree with you there, mate. Man of many voices. You know, is Yoko still in hospital then, Brad? I know she was it last year or year before, wasn't it? But I thought she was okay now. But you probably get that sort of news in America more than what we do in the UK. Man of many voices. I agree with what you've put there, because I'm not one of these Beatles fans that has to go out and buy the latest LPs, or, you know, I do like to go out and buy LPs, don't get me wrong, but I don't go out and buy something just for the sake of buying it, just because I've seen somebody on YouTube go out and buy it and do a video. But then again, if that's your cup of tea, that's your cup of tea, isn't it? Now we have, I think this song's absolutely amazing. But I think in America, you got Dionne Warwick doing it. But in the UK, we've got Cilla Black doing What's It All About, Alfie? Well, the accompanied directed by Burt Bacharach. Nice song. And then on the B side, you've got Nighttime Is Here. Quite a good singer back in the day, Cilla Black was. Although in the UK, she's known now more for, well, she was known more because obviously she passed away, for like TV shows. Yeah, Man of Many Voices. I've just read what you've put there. I thought Beatle Bad said that she was in hospital. But if she's in a hospice, that does usually mean it's like the final stages of life, isn't it? So if she is in a hospice, let's all like pray for and hope that she, is going to be okay. I don't hate Yoko. I know a lot of people do hate Yoko and say that she broke up the Beatles. In all fairness, the Beatles broke up the Beatles, didn't they? I think it would have only been a time before they broke up anyway. So I think Yoko is off. Yes, it is sad. If she's in a hospice, like I say, let's all, send our thoughts out to her and hope that she is going to be okay. Yoko's Yoko, isn't she? She made John happy for a few years, didn't she? This is quite a weird one. Again, it's on Parlophone. It's another one by Cilla Black. So if you're not sure who Cilla Black is, I do apologise. And this is Liverpool Lullaby. And it's absolutely fantastic. This is the sort of song that in a lot of ways, when John did I Am the Greatest for Ringo, they are very, very similar because they're on about reminiscing about the time in Liverpool and stuff like that. John Lennon didn't write this, didn't have any involvement in this, but it is a fantastic song. Should have been a big hit in a lot of ways, but by the time this came out in, when was it, 1969, Cilla Black sort of like fame had started to wane a little bit as a singer, hence why she went into TV and things like that. She was actually quite a very talented lady, and she actually started out off as a coat clerk, do you call them? Well, she worked in the cloakroom of the cabin club, apparently. What we got now? I don't desire anyone to suffer, even those who hate or hurt me. I wish no one any ill, really. Your thoughts are the same as me, man of many voices. You've put, you don't desire anyone to suffer, even those who hate or hate you. I wish no one any ill, really. I think you're the same as me, mate. You might not like somebody, but you don't wish anybody the ultimate, do you? Beatle Dave, I do think you are right. The Beatles are ready to do it all in at the end. Yeah, I think they just had enough, didn't they? They wanted to try the separate things. Maybe if the women in the business wranglings with Apple and Alan Klein and things like that hadn't got in the way, maybe they'd have just had a break and then got back together again. Because the Stones did it, didn't they? In the 70s, they didn't make a record for like 3 or 4 years, but then they got back together, sort of thing. They just worked on certain things. Yeah, it's what is though, isn't it, Brad? We can't really change history. We would have all have loved the Beatles to carry on, in one way or another, whether it was just making records and not doing the concerts and things like that. I don't know. You have actually, man of many voices. I like you. I do like you. I don't think you've actually commented on any of my videos before, live streams. And this is a nice thing about doing live streams. You do get to sort of like meet new people. So, man of many voices, I hope you do subscribe to my channel. I hope that then when I do live videos or live streams, you do comment, because you are actually putting some nice comments on this. You've put, I like to speculate something. Could the Beatles have released meaningful albums for another 2 to 5 years? So you mean if they'd have gone on to sort of like 1972 to 1974, 1975? I would say probably, yeah, because a lot of the things that was on McCartney, the first McCartney 1 as they call it now, the Plastic Ono Band, All Things Must Pass, a lot of those songs would have fitted onto a Beatles album, I think. A lot of them actually sounded like Beatles songs. A lot of them were written as Beatles songs, if you think about it, or at the time of the Beatles. And then stuff off Imagine and off Ram would probably, a few of those songs could have fitted onto a Beatles album. Then I think it starts to get a bit weird in 1972, because we only really had one proper album, didn't we, in 1972, which was John's Sometime in New York City. But then when you get to 1973, you know, you've got Red Rose Speedway, you've got Mind Games, you've got the Ringo album, and you've got George's Living in the Material World, which again, some of those songs would have fitted brilliant onto Beatles' album. Sue Me, Sue You Blues would have been fantastic, because, you know, if the Beatles would have recorded that, that would have been a piss take of all the crap that had been going on, wouldn't it? A bit like what George did in a lot of ways. A lot of the songs on the Ringo album featured the Beatles, didn't they, in all but name, you know, members of the Beatles. The closest they got was "I'm the Greatest." Yeah, I think that's actually quite a good question there. What a gift the Beatles are still giving us with what the sort time. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, they were together 9 years officially as a recording group, weren't they? They date back to 1956, 1957. Officially, they broke up in 1970, didn't they? And the last recordings sessions were in 1970. So if you look at that, 7 or 8 years, a great body of work. And like you say, people are still talking about it now, like us. You know, you already subbed to me, mate. Oh, thank you very much then, man of many voices. It's just I've never really seen your name come upon anything. So the Get Back at the B sessions are a bit, they're still under a bit of a cloud now, aren't they, to be honest? Tooting a snort. Little bad. I did say I think I might have it on a CD somewhere. It's what it is. It's a shame that there weren't a bit more with it instead of being out of it, sort of thing. It could have been a very, very historic recording session, couldn't it, in a lot of ways? And if, you know, they'd have been sober or not so high, they might have tried to record something properly. You know, so I think it is what it is. I think it's a missed opportunity. But getting onto the records that I'm showing you, or was, another one of my all-time favourite bands is the Small Faces. And this is a single called My Mind's Eye. Came out in 1966 on the Decca label. Fantastic band the Small Faces were. In fact, they were that good that when Steve Marriott left, because he was the main singer, the main songwriter, and the guitarist, when he left, they had to get 2 people in to replace him, which was, you know, Rod Stewart as the singer and Ronnie Wood as the guitarist. Got a fantastic voice, Steve Marriott had. And if you ever like go on Wikipedia or whatever you want to call it and check him out, very, very sad what happened to him in the end. Yes, they did. Yeah, they did all have contracts, didn't they, with the EMI and Capital till the end of 1976 or the beginning of 1976, which is why in the UK, after 1976, we started getting a lot of compilation albums and stuff because basically EMI and Capital could do what they wanted to because they didn't have to please the Beatles anymore, did they? Because John had gone into retirement, George had set up his own label, Ringo had sort of set up his own label, and then he was on Atlantic, wasn't he, in America, and Polydor in the UK. So the only Beatles they really had to sort of like try and keep on the good sides was Paul, wasn't it? Because he was still under contract at EMI in the UK and Capital, wasn't he, for so long in America. I think I've got that right. Yeah, because Alan Klein's passed away, hasn't he now? So while on about things like that, let's throw it out to you lot then. So do you think Alan Klein was good for the Beatles, or do you think he was bad for the Beatles? Do you think he was good for Apple, or do you think he might be one of the reasons at the split? Because that's the one that Paul always says, isn't it? You know, it was to do with they all want, you know, George, John, and Ringo wanted Klein as the manager, and Paul wasn't really that keen, but he did get better royalty rates for him, didn't he? So, you know, I mean, he was looking after himself more than anything, wasn't he? Because obviously the better their royalty, probably the better his sort of payoff was. All we need is hope. All right. The Small Faces were actually a very, very underrated band, and a lot of their records, especially the early LPs for the original pressings, you're talking a minimum of £100, a minimum. They have reissued a few of them, and like I say, when Steve Marriott left, the first album in America with Ronnie Wood and Rod Stewart was still called or credited the Small Faces, although it wasn't. It was actually the Faces, but it had to be released in America because that was something to do with the contract. Peter Brad, I do wish there was some good stuff out on it all. Paul and John. Well, are you on? I on about that bootleg CD, Toot and a Snort or whatever it was called. They did find a version of Stand By Me, didn't they, on that? But Brad, it's just what it is, you know, a missed opportunity. But it wasn't the last time John and Paul met, though, was it? In all honesty, they were supposed to met 1976 or something. What was that? Yeah, Beatle Brad, I love the Small Faces, I really do. Like I say, a very, very underrated band in a lot of ways. Yeah, add Man of Many Voices. Again, you've put there, you think Klein was good for them at first, which I think he was. They needed a manager. They tried to manage the Souls, didn't they? Or Paul tried to manage him. And I think that's where the sort of like resentment started to come through, which you see in parts of Let It Be, Stroke, Get Back. You know, at the end of the day, you've got to remember it wasn't Paul's band originally, it was John's band. But because John had got a bit of a drug habit at by the time of Let It Be, and he wasn't really bothered if he was in the Beatles or not, was he, by that time? I think Paul did try to like get things going the way he wanted it to. To a certain extent, he did on Magical Mystery Tour, and to a certain extent, he did on the White Album as well. You know, a lot of the tracks on the White Album aren't really the Beatles, are they? It's like John with a backing band, Paul with a backing band, George with a backing band, or Ringo with a backing band. Oh, that is the Beatles. You know, it's what you make of it. I still think the Get Back, Straight, Let It Be period produced some really, really fine songs. A lot of which until the box set came out, you know, I hadn't really seen the light of day. Yeah, at the end of the day, I think Alan Klein was out to look after himself first and foremost. So the better sort of deals he could get for the Beatles, then the better his percentage was, which is the same for all managers. I'm not just saying that about Alan Klein. I think the Beatles were lucky and unlucky with Brian Epstein, because obviously Brian had never been a manager till he met them, and he made some good deals for them and he made some not so good deals for them, but I don't think he was out to try and screw them for money. I think he just wasn't experienced enough to, like, you know, get the best deals that he could for them at the time, especially with merchandise and things like that. Beatle Brad, you've got a UK pressing of greatest hits. Is that the 20 greatest hits? It came in the white cover. Uh, See, I didn't know about that, what you just put there. Anyway, shall I show you a few more records while we're having discussions as well? This was rumoured at the time to have some sort of Beatles connection, but it didn't. It's Solomon King, When We Was Young. There's no Beatles connection on this whatsoever, although it did appear on a couple of very, very early Beatles bootlegs. Good song though, so you can understand it is a bit Beatley in places, so I can understand why. But there was like a Bee Gees one, wasn't there, that was sort of like put on a few of the early bootlegs as well. Hello, Mr. Ellie Records. Thank you for joining us. This wasn't planned. To be honest, I was just going to show a few records, but it has turned into quite a good discussion. We've been talking about who was the fifth Beatle and was Alan Klein any good for the Beatles or not, and we hope that Yoko's okay, and man of many voices. Nice to have been chatting to you. I hope you're okay, buddy, and I hopefully the next time I do a live stream, you'll join in as well. So thank you for your involvement. Have a great day. You have a great day too, mate. Yeah, Mr. Ellie Records, we've just been on about Small Faces. I've got a few of their original UK albums, first pressings, and they are worth quite a bit, and they're very, very hard to get hold of, and then lots of money. Sort of a Beatles connection with this one, because this band was managed by Brian Epstein, never managed by Alan Klein, but been managed by Brian Epstein, and they were the first band to have 3 consecutive number ones in the UK. Going the Pacemakers, Ferry Across the Mersey. So ferry across the Mersey to the land that I adore. Love that song. Susie Sue loves that as well. It was a toss-up actually to have that or Anyone Who Had a Heart. Is it Anyone That Had a Heart? Yeah. For like our wedding song, or one of our wedding songs. If you ever get the chance to go to Liverpool, you can still go on the ferry that goes across the Mersey, and they play that song on it. Dave Clark 5 were probably bigger in America in the mid-60s than they were in the UK. And this is a fantastic song of theirs, Glad All Over. And I'm feeling glad all over, yes, I'm glad all over, baby, I'm glad all over, so glad you're mine. I have to take singing lessons, won't I? Yes, Felix, Lucia, I think I've got your name right. Yeah, we shouldn't really slag Alan Klein off, should we? Because he probably put together, or was responsible for the best Beatles compilation albums ever, wasn't he? The Red and the Blue albums. I mean, it was hinted because there was like a bootleg thing that came out which made him do it. But yeah, you know, so without him, we wouldn't have had them. And I still think to this day they are the best Beatles compilation albums. You know, there's been a couple of, well, there's been lots of compilation albums come out before, after that. And in the UK before that, the only like compilation Beatles album we had was a collection of Beatles oldies but goldies, which was okay, but it was nothing special, you know. Anyone who had a heart, boom, boom, would look at me, doom, doom, and say that I love you. No, it wasn't anyone that had a heart. Susie, she was going to kill me now, isn't she? It wasn't that one. It was, oh, anyone had a heart? It was, oh, I can't remember. You're My World. That's one we picked. It was very close between You're My World and Go Across the Mersey. That was for like when we got married, and then for our first dance, believe it or not, we had what did we have? I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you. So I'm reading things, and it's like Swinging Blue Jeans, the Hippie Hippie Shake. Again, this is a reissue though. This one, fantastic song. And the Beatles used to do a version of this, didn't they, before they became famous at the Star Club and in the Cavern Club. And the B side of that is another single, actually. It's called You're No Good. You're no good, you're no good, you're no good. Love. Love is real, real is love. Oh, God, it's bad. I've seen your videos. Bear with 1 second, folks. You got me thinking there. You got me thinking, you got me thinking, you got me thinking, you got me thinking. Yes, I've had a crap week, folks, and my mind's all over the place at the minute. The song, our first song we danced to was "Oh My Love" off the Imagine album, and the words to that meant something to us. And "You're My World" by Cilla Black had meanings and things like that. So yeah, this one's for you, Beatle, Brad. Elvis Presley. I Need Your Loving Tonight, and A Fool Such as I. That should be my song for today, shouldn't it? Tri-center, these are called, aren't they? Again, they were made to be pushed out. Not in fantastic condition, but my dad used to like Elvis Presley. When I'd had a few beers, he used to try and sing the songs, but always got the words wrong. And I'm cocking this up and I haven't even had a drink today. So, what else we got? You like the Dave Clark Five? I know you do, Brad. And I haven't actually got many of their albums. I've got a session with the Dave Clark Five, which you know that's an original. And then I've got a couple of compilation albums and a few singles, and that's about it. I've got a couple of like CDs, you know, compilation CDs and stuff like that. Felix, my wife, she's not as big a Beatles fan as me, but she does like the Beatles, which is which is just as well, isn't it? If she's married to Beatles fanatic. She does like the Beatles. She likes John Lennon. She likes she loves Faux Cross the Mersey. That's one of her favourite songs of all time. But one of her favourite Beatles or Beatles related albums, and this is going to sound really, really stupid, is by Ringo Starr, and it's Sentimental Journey. And the reason that she loves that album is because a lot of the songs on that remind her of her grandma, because a lot of like old English standards on it and things like that, like Roll Out the Barrel and Blackbird and things like that, you know. What's the other one? Sentimental Journey itself. You always hurt the ones you love and things. You know, there's a lot of songs on there that would be classed as like war songs in some ways from the Second World War and even before that. And that album does suit Ringo's voice. You know, I do think that is an album that he should probably do Sentimental Journey Volume 2, especially in the UK. Where in America, I think he should do a Bukus of Blue Volume 2, because that is a country and Western album, isn't it? Didn't do anything in the UK at the time. But again, I think the songs that are on that album suit Ringo's voice completely. Another one for you, Ringo. Ringo? We've just been talking about Ringo. What have I got on here? Elvis Presley, My Way. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. And on the B side of that is America. See, Beatle Bad, I have got some Elvis Presley songs, singles. Many. This one here is actually quite rare in the UK. It's an extended play, which is like 4 tracks, and it's actually Little Richard and His Band Volume 3. So you've got The Girl Can't Help It and Jenny Jenny, that's on side 2. And then on side 1, we've got Lucille and Send Me Some Lovin'. It's not in very good condition, though, unfortunately. If that was in better condition, that'd be worth quite a bit. Yeah, I know it has. Mr. Ellie Records has just put My Way's got an interesting cover by the Sex Pistols, yeah. Although Beatle Dave used to be Punk Rock Dave when I was a lot younger. So I have got quite a few Sex Pistols albums still as well. I actually do think that, or Sex Pistols or Sid Vicious, whichever one you say, I do think that is a fantastic cover. Probably not as good as Frank Sinatra's version, and probably not as good as Elvis Presley's version, but I just think it knocked the spots off what was going off in the UK music business at the time. What's this one? Larry Williams. Larry Williams. Short Fat Fanny. On Specialty Records, and High School Dance. Now, of course, that has got a Beatles connection because Larry Williams was one of John Lennon's favourite singers, wasn't he? They did quite a few Larry Williams songs, didn't the Beatles? The Kinks, Lola and Death of a Clown. Probably 2 of the best songs, although technically Death of a Clown was released as a Dave Davies solo song, although it was on the Kinks' Something Else album. Great songs, great songs. And just to prove it, this is Death of a Clown. Yes, I was a punk rocker many years ago. I used to have a Mohican. I used to have a leather jacket and all sorts. Bearing in mind, I was only about 12 or 13 at the time. And then this is a really, really strange story, because in one way, this is how I got into the Beatles, was through being a punk rocker. When John Lennon was murdered, and it was all on the radio, my dad came home from work, because my dad worked nights, and he said John Lennon's been shot and he's died. And I actually thought he said John Lydon, Johnny Rotten. And then my dad goes, no, it's John Lennon. And he goes, well, who's John Lennon? And then that's how I got into the Beatles, basically. Weird, isn't it, how things happen? Death of a clown. Love me till the sun shines. You just have to love me till the sun shines. Yes, Bad Boy. One of the greatest cover versions the Beatles ever did, wasn't it? By Larry Williams. Twist and Shout. There's a few that you could say, but I would definitely say that is one of the best songs, best performances John Lennon ever did on a Beatles song. And in the UK, we had to wait till 1966 to get that, and it was on the aforementioned Beatles collection of oldies but goldies. So everything happens for a reason. No, I'm not going to show you any more records. I'm forgetting what I'm doing. Bad Boy is a brilliant cover. Casualty Records, Beatle Bad. They did a lot of Chuck Berry and things like that on it as well. So I'm not sure if it was like a budget label or not. But I think it is an American label. I don't think it's a UK label. If you actually look at that, that is just like an American record label, isn't it? Can you see it? Nice school dance on the B side. And oh my word, I've just seen what the time is. Susie's probably thinking I fell asleep up here, All I said was I'm going to go upstairs and play some records and probably make a video. Right, what we've got now. My first Beatles album was a collection of Beatles oldies. It was a cassette from 1974 from my first visit to the UK with my dad. We've all got little stories, haven't we? My first Beatles album, believe it or not, was Rock and Roll Music Volume 1, which was on the MFP label, Music for Pleasure label in the UK, which was actually released in October of 1980, just before John died. But I didn't get it till the January, because we had what used to call like a Top of the Pops LP, which was like session people singing other people's songs. And one of them was like a tribute to the Beatles sort of thing. And I listened to that and I thought, wow, why don't I know a lot of these songs? I mean, I knew some of them, like Yellow Submarine and Hey Jude and things like that, because you used to sing Yellow Submarine at school, didn't you? What we did. So because I'd got like this Top of the Pops thing that wasn't really the Beatles, I thought, well, I'll get a Beatles album. And that was the cheapest way to get them back in the day. Used to go into Woolworths, if you can remember Woolworths, and I think it was something like 50p or 90p or a pound or something. So I got that, and then the week after, or a couple of weeks later, got Rock and Roll Music Volume 2. So, we've all got little stories to tell of how we got into the Beatles. I'm glad I did, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this, would I? Beatle Dave, brilliant channel, but Punk Rock Dave probably wouldn't have been that good. It might have been, don't know, do you? What we got? Mr. Ellie Records. I wish I could show you a photo of me when I was a punk rocker, but unfortunately, over the mists of time, a lot of them have been lost. Especially one of me with a Mohican. I used to have a Mohican. I used to have a leather like biker jacket with loads of studs on it. I used to have a cheesecloth t-shirt, which was made by Vivienne Westwood, believe it or not, who's sadly no longer with us. and then I used to have a pair of tartan bondage trousers, and then I used to have Doc Martens. Used to go, ooh, there, really, really high. I was a bit of a naughty boy in them days as well, so see, we're all coming out now. Felix has just put the first Beatles album they bought was a 1978 Yellow Submarine. It's a first press in Capitol. All right. Yeah, because in America, a lot of your like releases didn't follow ours, did it? Yes, Beatle Brad, I was a wild child. I wasn't really naughty. I was a bit of a rebel, if that makes sense. Don't get me wrong, I didn't used to go around beating people up or bullying people or anything like that. I was actually quite a quiet child, to believe it or not. But punk just got me into music, basically. Although in one way it didn't, because even growing up when I was like 5, 6, 7, Sunday in our house was always music day. We used to have a great big piece of furniture that used to sit in the corner, and it was actually called a radiogram, but it was actually proper, a massive piece of furniture like that. And you used to have built-in speakers, and you used to pull it down like that, and you have your record player. You could play 78s on it and everything, and there was a radio in it. I don't think there was a tape deck or anything in it. And if my dad wasn't working, he used to cook the Sunday dinner, and while he was cooking the Sunday dinner to give my mum a rest, we'd have like his sort of records on, which would be anything from Gene Vincent, Eddie Cochran, the Rolling Stones, to Roger Whittaker and Johnny Mathis. That's how wide my dad's musical choice was. My mum loved people like Buddy Holly, what's his name? Marty Wilde, Tommy Steele, big fan of Tommy Steele. Then she used to like the Everly Brothers and things like that, and then ABBA and things like that. So there was always music around me when I was growing up. But punk was the first thing that really hit a chord with me. Bearing in mind, in the UK at that time, the charts were basically full of rubbish. You had no disrespect, because I can actually respect the music that was around then, but it was like you'd have guitar solos that seemed to go on for 20 minutes and things like that, prog rock or whatever they used to call it. ABBA was all right, and Shawaddy Waddy and things like that, and the glam rock bit, David Bowie and things like that, was brilliant. But then like 75, 76 time in the UK, he was getting all these like songs that coming out that was like trying to make out, oh, it's great to be alive and in such a wonderful like place to live, and yet he was on a 3-day a week, so your power would go off at like 6 o'clock at night, and you'd be there with candles and things. And there was a big strike from the dustmen, or the refuse men, as you call them in America. So you'd got like bags of rubbish just all over the streets and stuff. You couldn't get petrol for love nor money. It was like the winter of discontent. I think that's what some of the punks used to call it, was the winter of discontent. And then it was going to be year zero. Everything was going to change, and to a certain extent it did. You didn't have to be a multi-instrumentalist to make a record. Anybody could make a record, or so they thought, which was a bit like it was with the Beatles when they started it. You didn't have to be musically minded to be in a band. And, skiffle, as it was called in the UK, anybody could do it. You used to have people making their own instruments and things like that, So it was, although it was new, in one way, looking at it now, it was a throwback to them sort of times as well. So, and I think if John Lennon would have been around in recording in 1976, 1977 or something like that, I think he would have probably done like a punk album. That's what I think, because a lot of the punk bands admired John Lennon. They hated a lot of the people from the 60s, but they always said they loved John Lennon, they loved Syd Barrett, and Mark Bolan and David Bowie to a certain extent as well. So that's my little story anyway. Right, Beatle Bad's going. I don't know how long that is because I've just been talking. So thank you, Beatle Bad, for watching. Take care of yourself, mate. And like I say, we will one day, me and you meet face to face. I really do. So thanks, Beatle Bad. And to be honest with you, I'm going to call it a day now anyway, because we're just talking about things that we weren't originally going to talk about. But it's been fun, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it. It really has been fun. The punk was a kid in there. Yeah, because punk sort of like punk started in America, didn't it? But the name punk wasn't really known in the UK. Dirty Harry wanted to make my day punk and things like that. Punk meant he was like a low life, didn't it, sort of thing, or what we'd call in the UK like a bit of a loner or a tramp or something like that. The Sex Pistols never said they were a punk band, believe it or not. The Damned never said there was a punk band. When they started, the punk rock did not exist in the UK. It was just a new form of music. Yes, right, Beatle Bad. And Susie Sue's Beatle Bad, if you're still there, Susie Sue's just put on "Love You, Hubby" to me. So even Susie Sue's watching this, so she knows now I ain't gone to sleep. The Damned were a fine album, a damn fine. The Damned were a damn fine group. I was going to say. The Clash were brilliant. I've met Mick Jones out at the Clash. I went to see a gig he did, and it was in Derby. CIS was the name of his band. Carbon Silicon Inc. So it was him, and then there was Tony James of Generation X, and then there was a drummer. I don't really know who the drummer was. And I took my daughter Claire, and it was in a pub, and it was like being in a garage. The pub wasn't that big. It felt like a room where this band were going to play. Mick Jones walked in and says, "Evening, everyone," like that. And then when they'd done the gig, there's playing music. I was at the bar with Tony James. It was like Tony James and my best mate was buying each other drinks. My daughter was talking to Mick Jones. It was one of those surreal things that you never thought something like that could happen. And then Tony James is on about when Billy Idol left, and because Tony James never, although he was in Generation X and he wrote some of the songs, he didn't really get the credit for some of the songs that he wrote. And then Generation X have, split up, and he went on to do Zieg Sputnik of all things, which basically worked. It worked for him because he sort of like got a #1 hit, but it's not really the sort of music that he liked. Big Audio Dynamite, yeah, fantastic band. Again, that was Mick Jones. And his second album, I believe it is the second album that Big Audio Dynamite released, was actually produced by Joe Strummer, although he used his real name, didn't he? John Mellors, was it? And he wrote a couple of the songs for him. Yeah, Big Audio Dynamite. They were for the first band, or one of the first bands in the UK to do dubs and things like that. Fantastic band. I know they was on about reforming, weren't they, Big Audio Dynamite, but I don't think they ever did. But that went through so many changes, didn't it? So many lineup changes. The other person I've met is Marco Parioni, who was the lead guitarist in Adam and the Ants. In fact, he used to live somewhere around us. Don't know if he still does. When I look back now, it's amazing that what my musical tastes used to be like to what they are now. But don't get me wrong, I do still love punk. I love punk and ska and things like that. Adam and the Ants, I've seen Adam and the Ants a few times. The original Adam and the Ants, when they were like a punk band, not a pop band. Mick Jones, I met him. Tony James, I met him. But yeah, everything happens for a reason, doesn't it? And you know, the way I got into the Beatles basically was because I was a punk. Right, so I'm going to call it a day now, folks. Oh, if you can hear stupid noises, by the way, it's this chair. I think it needs oiling, or it could be my bones. So, Peter Bad, thank you. Man of Many Voices, thank you. Susie Sue, thank you. Mr. Ellie, thank you. Everybody that has left comments, I've really enjoyed this. I am going to try and do a few more live streams, to be honest, but I only did because my computer was working, so I don't know how it's come out. But I will go eventually. I'm going to invest in a newer computer or newer laptop. Who else was it? Yeah. So thank you to everybody that's joined in with this. You know, I love you all. Remember, you are the Beatle Dave, and next time I might even say when I'm going to do it. But then again, that ain't the spontaneity of it, then, is it? So thank you to all. Love to you all. Please take care. Whatever you're doing, stay safe. Hopefully, you know, it's a bank holiday in the UK, so there could be some record fairs on near me, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get to them because I've still got trouble with my car. I'm not quite sure what to do with it. Until the next time, peace, love, and happiness. I love you all. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've really enjoyed doing it. I really have had fun today. So thank you to you lot for giving me some joy and happiness. And I hope I've gave you some joy and happiness and made you laugh. So till the next time, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye. So long, so long, so long.